I'm back! Holy shit, it's been too long since I've been talking about movies on YouTube, and after that complete shit stain of It Chapter 2, I've been dying to talk about some good movies. However, I have not seen much. The only thing that I've really missed out on telling you guys about was Joker, and while that was great, it was nothing spectacular and it was nothing horrible, and I really don't want to talk about it because I know that it's just going to be full of controversy, and I'd rather just deal with that at the end of the year. So for now, I'm just going to be talking about the two movies I saw this weekend, Parasite and The Lighthouse, two of the most buzzed about movies of the year, and we're going to be talking about Parasite first because I got a lot of shit to say about The Lighthouse, and for Parasite, it's going to be a straightforward bang, bang, bang because this film is fantastic. Parasite has been garnering buzz ever since it won the top prize of the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival this year, and while I still think that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood should have won that award, goddamn it could not have lost to a better movie. Parasite basically boils down to an intelligent poor family taking advantage of a pretty dumb rich family in order to move themselves up the economic scale, and a good chunk of this film is done through excellent comedy. The first part of this film feels like it could be the plot of a 1980s comedy film. However, it actually has super defined characters that are each unique and super interesting, good cinematography, and a fantastic, beautiful score. I guess what I'm basically saying is that this is a comedy movie with a brain in its first part. And see how I'm saying first part here? Because Parasite really shifts itself. This is a perfect genre blending film. I've never seen genre blending done this well. Maybe in the last decade, maybe ever. It's sort of something that's been new to this decade. And while Get Out did it fantastically, I think that Parasite may do it better here. This goes from comedy to heist to drama to horror to thriller. It goes all over the spectrum and back and forth and back and forth, and each part of it feels so good. There's not a single part where the movie dips in terms of its genre quality, and it basically provides the best thriller and the best horror of the year. And much of this comes down to Joon-ho's excellent direction here. Joon-ho may just be the best director of the year. I'd have to more qualitatively analyze him in comparison to Tarantino, but goddamn does he direct the shit out of this movie. There's not a single part where this film feels flashy. He understands that he's got to keep going with these smooth transitions and keep on going at breakneck pace because this film could easily come off as pretentious. It's got a lot of stuff about class, and it never lets that get in the way, whereas Joker made it so preachy and so obvious. Everything here in Parasite is subtle because it's more concerned with entertaining you than trying to get a message out. Or at least, that's what it seems. The fact is, Parasite uses its entertainment to hook you and get you more invested with these characters so you can actually care about the message even more. And goddamn, it's hard not to care about these characters. The performances here are fantastic. They just fit perfectly into the role. While none of these performances are outstanding and should necessarily be Oscar nominated, there's not a weak link in this cast, and particularly the daughter of the poor family and the mother of the rich family are just excellent characters here, some of the best of the year. Joon-ho loves not to point blame at anyone. He just likes to call this a whole system and points blame at the system, and that's totally okay because it just ends up with more compelling characters. He never says, oh, rich people are bad and oversimplifies anything. These are all good people with flaws in them. Every human being is flawed, and Bong Joon-ho makes that apparent here, yet never takes away their humanity. Even the rich father, who at times can seem pretty flat as a character, but as you go along with the movie, he definitely has some depth to him as well. And listen, this would make for a strong 8.5, 8.8 movie by the end, but that mid-act twist, holy shit, Us does not have the best midpoint of the year anymore because oh my gosh, I can't even tell you guys what it is, but it's gonna blow you fucking out of your seats. It's absolutely incredible what Bong Joon-ho does halfway through this movie. He completely changes the game and basically shoots you into a completely different genre in maybe the best set piece of the year that goes on for so long, and yet it is so enjoyable and it has so many complex moving parts to it. It's just magnificent, to put it simply. This inadvertently creates Parasite's biggest problem. That fifth and final act feels so sloppy in comparison to the other four acts of the film, and it's not the fault of Bong Joon-ho's lack of meticulousness. You know that he's meticulous. We all know this. You saw like 80% of the film. However, that last act where a lot of big moments happen and a lot of crucial stuff to the plots happen in rapid succession, it just sort of feels lazy when it shouldn't, and I think a large part of that can be blamed on that beautiful climax the film reaches, but reaches too early. There's just a point in the film where Parasite just sort of goes down in its intelligence level, both as a critique on capitalism and also as just a film. There's plenty of slow motion in this part. There are a lot of character choices, character words even in the screenplay that makes these characters seem more flat than they should be. Everything gets a little more stereotypical than I like to be. The ending feels like it's going to be this huge gut punch, and it just doesn't come off that way. It's just a pretty lame way to end the film when you have so much going for it. It's a lame way, especially because this film could have been a 9.5, 9.7, maybe even a masterpiece, but I ultimately think it falls short of that. I'm giving Parasite still an excellent score of a 9 out of 10, but it could have been more. But hey, at least it's not The Lighthouse. So let me just be frank with everyone real quick, because I got some real shit to say. I am sick of films throwing in sex scenes all up and down the film and expecting me to think it's like on a higher level of intelligence. And maybe this is because I've seen Under the Silver Lake this year, and Climax, and Midsummer, and High Life, and they all to some extent are horror movies with a pretty gratuitous amount of nudity, but I'm just pretty sick of it. I don't like films having this amount of nudity in it, especially when it's not contributing that much to the plot. And granted, The Lighthouse does use it better than any other of the films this year that have that much nudity in it, but quite frankly, it's just excessive. It doesn't make the film any better. In fact, it's just not something I want to see, and it makes me want to see the film just never again. I just don't want to see that anymore, because it's not something that I want to be like, oh, yes, this is actually symbolizing the blah, blah, blah. It's just not worth it. I get what they're trying to go for this film. I know that it's about loneliness and the struggles of men and all about eroticism, and I get it, and it does that pretty well. However, if you're going to do it, you could just do it like Vertigo did it, or a recent example, Blade Runner 2049. It's better when you don't have to show everything, because it just makes the actual message more heavy-handed. It was so obvious what the film was going for so early because it was constantly shoved in our faces. I mean, when you got Robert Pattinson masturbating in the first 20 minutes of the film, you know where it's going with this. It's better to be more restrained, and this was a huge blunder on Robert Eggers' part that pretty much sunk the film for me from the beginning, which is a shame because there is some good stuff here, just not extraordinary stuff. The cinematography, very good, yet nothing extraordinary, nothing that I was absolutely blown away by. The dialogue, pretty damn good, it's pretty damn funny. However, nothing laugh out loud. It's a little bit excessive in points, just like that nudity with its curse words and its talk about sex and just dumb shit in general. It just sort of lets the characters go, and I'm not too keen on that. And considering that I can't even understand half of what Willem Dafoe is saying, that, sort of acts as a detriment to the experience. Willem Dafoe, very good in this film, nothing extraordinary. It's not like his character is something we haven't seen before. It's not like he plays it extra fantastically. Robert Pattinson, let's give some credit to him. He was the best part of the film. I really enjoyed his descent into this madness. I bought it. However, once again, nothing extraordinary. There's nothing about this film that needs to be praised, and we have to raise our pitchforks that it's not being included in award season, because quite frankly, this film is not that good. And let me tell you, it's not like Robert Eggers is a bad director, like The Witch. I can't even say I dislike this one. However, when you have that much nudity and you can't make advantage of the time you're given on screen because I can't understand what the characters are saying and nothing is overly fantastic, it just makes the film not worth a watch. And listen, there's plenty of thought put into The Lighthouse. The fact that this is all like some allegory or an allusion to a Greek mythological tale, that's fantastic. I really enjoy stuff like that. But in order to have that stuff, it felt like this film had to compromise itself repeatedly, over and over and over again, and I ultimately just didn't really enjoy it. See, I'm getting heartburn talking about it. This is horrible. I'm going to give The Lighthouse a 6 out of 10. However, it could have been way lower. I'm being very generous with the score. And with that said, hopefully I can get more of these reviews, more stuff coming out in the future. However, no guarantee, filled with a lot of work. But with stuff like Knives Out and The Irishman coming, with other films that I want to not rewatch, but films from earlier this year that I missed, that I want to catch up on, want to watch, we're going to be having a pretty busy fall when it comes to movies. Hopefully I can translate that onto YouTube. So once again, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.